straps to brake shoes, so 4 box sizes come in handy. If it fits, it ships.
Documents to different states?
Coast to coast. With flat rate envelopes, I ship anywhere in the country. International, too, for a low flat rate.
Now we'd like to pass on this offer to you. Call or go online to order your free flat rate shipping kit. You get free boxes, envelopes, and our helpful shipping guide. I'll even deliver them to your door for free. It's an offer too good to pass up.
Call or go online now to order your free Priority Mail flat rate shipping kit only from the Postal Service, a simpler way to ship.
Latest on the deadly Japan quake. Piers Morgan, live, CNN tonight, 9 Eastern.
This Saturday morning, 9:30 in the morning, check out these images along Japan's Pacific coast. It used to be a residential area here, but now, no, or if any, just few signs of life. Just foundations. The wooden homes that sat above them washed away by the powerful tsunami that followed the earthquake 18.5 hours ago. With us now to explain the science of tsunamis. From St. Louis, Doug Weeds. He's the chairman of Washington University's Department of Earth and Planetary Sciences. Also, Stefan Grilli, a professor at the University of Rhode Island's Department of Ocean Engineering. And let me start with you first, Mr. Weeds. As you've watched this play out, 18 hours ago, a little more than that, is when this all happened. Just your thoughts on what you have seen as you characterize this. Put this into context. Many people will remember the tsunami of the Southeast Asia tsunami down here from several years ago. How does this one fit?
Well, it's a tremendous disaster because it's happening right next to a very highly populated area. And we've recently gotten a re-estimate of the magnitude of the earthquake, and the most reliable estimates now say 9.1. So this is one of the 4 largest earthquakes that we've ever recorded with a seismograph.
Mr. Grilli, 9.1. Oh, go ahead, Christy, go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. Stephen Grilli, this is Christy in Hong Kong. Now, this was a shallow earthquake. When it struck, it was just 24 kilometers deep in the water. Is it a general rule that the more shallow the quake is, and if it happens in water, the more devastating the resulting tsunami will be?
Yes, of course. The closer to the seafloor, the more shaking you will have, and the more water motion above the seafloor.
And gentlemen, let me ask Mr. Weeds first. I'm going to show an animation here for our viewers. And this is the tsunami as it hits. You see the earthquake hits. It first hits Japan right away, which is right here under my finger. And then you watch as it plays out. This is 8 hours later, 9 hours later. It begins to hit the Pacific coast over here in the United States. 10 hours, 11 hours, making its way down toward California. As it plays out here, it seems to be, there were some initial concerns about the power when it reached this way. But it seems to be now that we can say with certainty, can we not, that the threat was over here and that, yes, we need to watch it here, but there's no major damage expected, correct?
I think since it's been already so many hours since the earthquake, the energy in the waves dies out as it spreads out. So I believe that the danger is really over.
Yes,
okay, Doug, just to follow up on that, more aftershocks have been taking place since the initial 8.9 magnitude earthquake that struck yesterday about 2:26 local time. Given so many number of aftershocks, should there be more ahead, and could there be one around the same level of the magnitude that we saw yesterday?
Well, we can never say for sure. I mean, sometimes an aftershock can be essentially the same magnitude as the main shock, so you have a doublet. But in most cases, the aftershocks are at least a magnitude or 2 below the main shock in magnitude. So I think that we could have damaging aftershocks, but they will probably not be large enough to produce a significant tsunami, at least at a great distance from Japan.
And let me ask you both, I'm showing our viewers here a chart here. This is fault lines around the area, and this is essentially where this happened, is what they call the Ring of Fire, right up in here. Mr. Weeds, to you first. What is the special significance of just where this happened, and sort of the greater the threat where we are in the world here?
Well, the reason that there's so many earthquakes there is because the Pacific plate is moving down beneath Japan. And when it moves down beneath Japan, you get these very, very large earthquakes, as we do in other places in the Ring of Fire, like Alaska and Chile. What's significant, though, about the location is that it happened in such a populated area. So that means the devastation, that you can have on the population is very large, and seems to be on the order. Well, I mean, the comparable earthquake in Japan's history was the 1923 Kanto earthquake, which was a very significant event in their history.
And we continue to show our viewers, excuse me for interrupting, I just want to tell our viewers we're seeing live pictures come in along the coast in Japan, and obviously as day breaks, news organizations there, and these are from NHK, are trying to get a better assessment of the damage now that they can see, and you can tell from those pictures the waters are beginning to recede, but still some water issues there. Professor Grilli, let me ask you this. This is a question we got a lot today in emails and on Twitter and the like. When you see this ring of the fault lines here, people sometimes ask, is there any relation? We just had a quake down here in the Christchurch, New Zealand area not that long ago. Obviously there's a considerable distance, but it is in this circle of fault lines out here. Is there any connection, or is this just the risk you pay for being along these fault lines out here?
Well, I'm not really a seismologist, but I would think that the connection would be very slim as you move very far away from the Japan trench. But on the same trench, what happened today could put more stresses on some other parts of the trench that haven't moved yet. And so this remains to be seen and studied, but it could be that in the next near future, I wouldn't want to venture a forecast, but we could see another part of this particular trench that would move as a result of additional stresses that have been put on that part of the trench, but not for another distant part of the ring.
And I showed some of this to our viewers earlier, but I want to show it again and ask you gentlemen if we are in the right place here or if more needs to be done. I'm showing the warning system. First, the seismic places that are on land and on the ocean floor, and then you bring in the sea level network, largely buoys around the world, and different governments and different organizations control these, which is why they are different colors. But Mr. Weens, to you first. I assume Japan has the best early warning system in the world if you see the network up in here. Is this system as good as it can be, or does it need to be updated?
Well, they have an excellent system, and recently they have even been augmenting their system on land with sensors under the ocean. I imagine there are ways to make it better, but it certainly is an excellent system, and I'm sure it saved many, many lives today by warnings that were put out when the earthquake first happened, because there was probably 10 or 15 minutes where they could warn people about the tsunami coming in.
Professor Grilli, let me close with this question. Obviously, we're still trying to assess the damage, the devastation, and particularly important, of course, the loss of life. What is your biggest question? As someone who studies these things, as you watch this go forward in the days and weeks ahead, what is your biggest question at this moment that you would like to answer?
Well, I think we just heard about warning. What we need to do is increase the level of warning, and that means modeling ahead of time a lot of scenarios, and also being ready to read the signs as soon as possible, and then pulling those scenarios. By scenario, I mean computer models that can quickly make an assessment and issue a prediction. Today, despite the tragedy, I think the warning system showed a great success in warning a lot of areas ahead of time, evacuating people from danger, and saving a lot of lives. So, unfortunately for the highly populated area very close to the epicenter, the warning was very, very short, and we've heard about the death toll, and that is a tragedy for Japan.
Stefan Grilli from the University of Rhode Island, Doug Weens from Washington University in St. Louis. Gentlemen, thank you both for your expertise and insights on short notice. We very much appreciate it tonight.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Christy will rejoin us, and also President Obama's very personal reaction to the quake in Japan. But first, again, more new pictures from Saturday morning. New cars that had been lined up for export. First, the tsunami stacked them on top of one another. Now, a fire burning through the pile.
Lembre-se, vivamos o dia de hoje como se Cristo voltasse amanhã.
That the financial goals